nice. I don't mind you raising my taxes. I think they go for, they're very well spent, I think. I don't mind you raising them and raise them enough to cover services going forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? All right.
My name is Dick Graham. I live at 405 James Boulevard. And I'd also like to echo a lot of what, pretty much all of what Ann said. I think the town has been well managed. I think working on a really tight budget, the town manager has been able to do an awful lot for this town. Also working at the MAC, we hear from a lot of families moving in to this community. And a lot of young families have moved in over the last couple of years. And their reasons for choosing this town are the things we have. The MAC, I'll mention that one first, but the MAC, sports facilities, schools, everything up here. Not one time did anyone say, I came here because of low taxes. People move here for what we offer, the beauty of the place and all the great things we have, the safety of living up here that our police force provides and our fire department provides. That's why they come here. And to have things like that, we have to pay for them. So sometimes taxes have to be raised. Everything goes up. You pay more for bread, milk, gas, everything else. The town pays more for everything. And that's the way life is. So I'm in favor of the tax increase. It's not a huge burden on anyone. And if $7 a month is bad for someone to pay, I'm sure we can come up with a way to help those people out. But I think the vast majority of this community can pay a few dollars more a month to see that we can maintain the great life that we have up here.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate all your comments. I know it's an issue that most people aren't in the middle on. And I think as we go along over the course of the next year, we've talked about having to plan better. And I would say all options or all ideas are on the table. So we'll talk about that, and hopefully everyone will be, welcome to give their opinions if they have them, ideas if they have them, and we'll, I think, talk about everything as we go along and plan for the next year. So thank you guys for your comments. So I read the resolution. I'm going to go ahead and read it again, unless we have anybody else who wants to comment. Okay. This is a resolution authorizing the town manager to submit an application for the Public Entity Partners Driver Safety Matching Grant Program. This seems familiar, but is this new?
Yeah, this is one we do every year, and it helps us pay for, we do driver's license checks for all the drivers, and pays for part of the GPS units we have on vehicles. So it's things that we do anyway, and just helps cover the cost of those.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second? Second. All right, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, the motion passes. The next item is an ordinance. We'll go through the ordinances. We have a few of them. First is an ordinance of the town of Signal Mountain, Tennessee, adopting the annual budget and tax rate for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2021 and ending June 30th, 2022, hereinafter known as the FY 2021-2022 budget ordinance. So we need a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, any discussion? None?
We've beat this horse a good bit, but I'm going to beat it some more. Heard from many more citizens, and the same thing I keep hearing is disappointment with our fiscal irresponsibility to raise the taxes, to get a report like that and act on it as quickly as we are. We should be stepping back right now Going back to Boyd's original budget, we did not have time to digest this, implement it properly, come up with a proper plan to implement it. And two wrongs don't make a right. We shouldn't be voting today to approve this. We need to step back, take the year to plan and bite off chunks we can chew from a budgetary standpoint. I know we all, everything, I've not heard from a single citizen, we shouldn't be paying our employees right, or that they aren't doing a great job. We know that, but we have to live within our means, and we're not trying to do that. We're doing two unsustainable things in this budget. We're borrowing from the general fund, and we're continuing and perpetuating this tax increase after tax increase. We'll have to do another one this year if we don't change something. And we'll have to do another one in 5 years because we're not living within our means and doing the long-term planning that's necessary to make the right decisions here.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I'd like to. Sorry. Tend to keep that on, but I probably shouldn't for speaking. I think we need to take a look at the life we live here in Signal Mountain. It's amazing. This is an amazing place to live. One of the best places to live in the United States. I've traveled extensively and chose this place because of what it is. I may not be able to afford to continue to live here, but it's not because of taxes, it's because of a changing economy. Our taxes here are low, not high. This is pretty simple. It's about the kind of lifestyle we have available here. I do take umbrage at talk of fiscal irresponsibility without showing specifics. Our property values here were high before the recent economic upsurge. They've always been above the general market average here because of the quality of life that's afforded to us here. We live in a place where you have the opportunity to know by name most of the police officers, most of the firefighters, most of the people who work in public works, the employees that pick up your trash. You can know them by name in this small town. The people that patrol your streets, protect your house in a fire, and can show up at your house within minutes if you have a heart attack. That's all the advantage of this little bitty town that we live in and the budget that has been properly managed throughout the years. It's a very small budget for the size town we have. We can all know that, and you can get to know all these people, and then you'll understand the situation. So I know we're not talking about the pay thing tonight. That's not really the thing, but that's kind of a part of this budget. If you did take the time to get to know these folks, there would be no surprises in this budget. You would know that most of the people who work in these departments have to hold down second jobs in order to do it. Very few of them can afford to live here. There are a few who do, but those who do all have second jobs. I know this personally because I've gotten to know them. Our taxes are not above average. Our quality of life is. Our safety is above average, not our taxes. Our property values are above average, not our taxes. Our level of services here are above average, not our taxes. And if you want to challenge these ideas, go ahead and propose something like cutting leaf pickup this fall and see what happens, see what kind of response you get. If you want to take that farther, close the pool, stop mowing the ball fields, sell the Mac to some private entrepreneur, turn the gym into a flea market. Do any of these ridiculous things and you'll barely affect the budget. You will also have hurt the two public-private partnerships, being the library and the MAC, which are the smallest part of the budget, which have brought in the greatest amount of non-tax revenue to this town in this past year by people putting money into those places. The new expansion going to the library, it's free. Taxpayers aren't paying for it. So these things that you mentioned already exist within this town and within this budget, and they're doing quite well. And they ought to be supported, not demeaned. You can't cut staff salaries, which is effectively what you're doing if we don't address this in this budget this year. Our pay hasn't kept up, and I'm almost done with this, but I wanted to get this out. I'm going to be voting for this budget, and it's because our taxes here are not high. Our taxes serve us well. Our quality of life here is high, and that's the way that our taxes serve us, and that comes at a price. So I think this understanding is indispensable when choosing how to vote on this budget tonight, and also how to explain it to your neighbors and to people you write and tell why this is happening and why it's necessary. So I hope we'll have a majority who votes in favor. And I think a unanimous vote for the budget is a very positive thing for staff up and down the lines.
I have something I'd like to say as well.
Sure.
Make sure you're on, B.
I have been very carefully keeping documentation of the people who have spoken to me about their wishes about a tax increase. And every person I've spoken to has hands down been excited about providing our employees with the beginning of a pay support that they need, not even the end. However, in the last 2 weeks, it's been really interesting to me. The more time that has gone between the people learning about the salary study and now, the less people have come to me and said that they're against a tax increase, the less. And I would have expected it to ramp up, which was interesting to me. Also, the sense that I get from the community is one of unity. I don't believe that our town has been fiscally mismanaged at all. It hasn't been. It's been very well run. It is every penny in the budget goes to something important. I don't think that's the issue at all. And it wasn't with me initially, and it still isn't. It's just a timing issue that I think that looking at giving me more time, giving me an idea of what's coming next in the next coming months so that I can have in my head what is important and what do I need to focus on is important and would be for everyone. And so in saying that, I am not pleased about a tax increase at all. Not for me personally, not for my neighbors, not for my friends, not for the folks that really can't afford it. Although, Mr. Graham, I think you said it very well, those people, I think we can find a way to support. However, what I am for is unity in our town, and I'm for unity in our council. And I've really gone back and forth. This has been such a hard thing for me to try to decide, being new on town council, being new to this level of politics. However, in my heart, although I wish we weren't going to have to increase taxes, I also believe that what's best for the town is to have a town council that can stand behind the major information that is coming at the back end of this tax increase, which is that we value our employees. That's the most important thing. And I know that more money is something that nobody wants to spend, but I also know that in the next 12 months, we will have a chance to look at and build a strategic plan going forward with partnerships from other areas around the mountain. Thanks to Town Council Member Murdoch. So although I don't love the tax increase, I do love our town employees. Although I don't love the thought of me having to spend more money, I do love the idea of being able to go check out a book. So with that, I am going to vote for the budget this year.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'll be voting for it as well for all the reasons that you all have explained here today. And it really is a return on an investment that I think I just keep coming back to. In the last, I've been through 3 budget cycles now, and in the 3 budget cycles I've been through, I don't think we've been able to fund any supplemental budget requests from our department heads. I mean, that says a lot. That means that our employees are doing more with less. They're not getting what they need to be the most efficient that they can in the departments that they have to run. So I feel like it sends a positive message to our employees. You know, they're the most important asset that we have. But I do like Andrew's suggestion about taking this year to really closely examine our budget. I want to invite community members to participate in those conversations. There may be ways that, you know, we just haven't seen. I don't know. I'm all ears. I'm completely open to those, any kind of feedback or suggestions. But I'm also really excited to think about a mountaintop growth plan. I always kind of beat that drum, but I think it's going to become a reality this year. And I think we need to try to partner with Walden and with the unincorporated part of Hamilton County up here on Signal to try to create some unity and some suggestions and some ideas that we can work towards, because it does feel like often, I think a lot of taxpayers, one thing that town members in the town of Signal Mountain feel like, you know, we've got a large contingency of people who get the benefit of all of the services that we provide up here that Signal Mountain taxpayers are paying for, and they don't get taxed on, the people that live in Walden and in an unincorporated part of the mountain. So I'm not trying to besmirch them or say anything negative about them, but I'm saying that is something that needs to be talked about and looked at and examined. And so I look forward to participating in those conversations. I think we've got, you know, a lot of opportunities before us to make a solid plan for the future so that everybody can kind of have a collective buy-in and the unity that we need up here to move forward. And, you know, sometimes tax increases just are necessary. I hate doing it. This is the hardest part about being on the council. It's a privilege and it's an honor to serve the constituents, but it's really hard because people are either like in favor of it or they're not, and there's nothing in between. And sometimes you have to disappoint people who aren't in favor of it, and that's hard to do. But you also, you know, I try to emphasize to the people that have emailed me and called me that I've spoken with that I campaigned on a platform about the quality of life up here and the importance to me of preserving and maintaining that quality of life. I want my children to be able to raise their families up here. We have to be able to maintain this small town feel of this community. I am 100% in opposition to selling out to any kind of big developers and, you know, corporate interests. That's going to ruin, that'll make Signal Mountain just like everywhere else. And we're better than that. So I'll be supporting this budget, and I hope everybody can appreciate and respect the decision that we're making this evening.
Thank you. Yeah, I will speak to Andrew's position, because I respect that 100%. Nobody wants a tax increase. And it would be difficult to go back to the original budget. I may have misunderstood you, that was proposed, because that didn't involve any kind of pay increase. And it's an issue. I know 2 years ago when Dan gave the State of the Town address, he was talking about how our employees were underpaid. So they've been going through this for a while. We need to do something about that. But like I said earlier, I heard from people who came up with all kinds of suggestions. Some might seem wacky, some not. But I say over the next year, we listen to them all and, you know, talk about them and have the public weigh in on how they feel. Somebody said we should get rid of the trash pickup and outsource that, or get rid of leaf pickup. You know what? I'm willing to talk about it. Maybe people want to do that. Maybe they don't. We'll find out. I think that's what we should do over the course of the next year to prepare. And also, I know, Andrew, you're working with Parks and Rec to try to get the leagues to be more self-sustaining. We need to do that across the board with a lot of organizations. And I think we also need to look internally and see if there's cost savings we can come up with over the course of the next year, because there are probably some there, and that's what we need to do. Vicki mentioned it's a timing issue. We were put in a bad situation where we had to come up with something now, and I think we reached a compromise. You know, we are pulling a little bit from the general fund. We're having a smaller tax increase than what was originally proposed. That's a compromise that hopefully everybody can live with, and we'll do better over the course of the next year to talk about things and try to have a better plan going forward. So does anybody else have any other comments?
I do.
Yeah.
To say our taxes are low, certainly in the national sense is true, but it is not true in Hamilton County comparative sense. We're the third highest municipality outside of the city of Chattanooga, which is kind of a beast of its own. We're quickly going to become second, or I don't know what the others are doing, working our way to first. So comparatively, we're not a very affordable place to live. we continue down this path, we'll be far beyond the second place. One, because of the lack of commercial revenue that we have when we compare to those places, and we try to provide the same level of service. And we do provide the same level of service, and often provide a better level of service. We cannot continue that sustainably. To say that the hard thing to do is to increase taxes, I disagree. The hard thing organizations do with constrained budgets, which is every organization, is they take a hard, long look at how they're doing things and how they're spending money and what their priorities are. Us as a council, we're taking the easy way out by increasing taxes because we're just perpetuating the problem. And, you know, Susanna, you say that in your time here, we haven't been able to handle a supplemental budget request. You're sure as heck not going to be able to do one now. We've just saddled $300,000 on here annually that we aren't planning to pay for next year. So we've buried those instead of looking hard at ways to get efficient, to prioritize what the citizens want. We've buried any supplemental budget requests for years. So I don't think we're doing what's fiscally responsible to the citizens, to the sustainability of our town, in any of these ways. And we're really not doing, I mean, I'm glad we're doing something for employees, but we could also take a step back and do sustainable chunks as we find them. That's probably what most organizations would do if they were being fiscally responsible.
Okay. Any other comments? All right. I think we had a motion and a second. We can do a roll call vote on this.
Second here.
Sure.
Wasn't prepared for a roll call. Okay. You folks ready?
Yep.
Vice Mayor Susanna Murdoch.
Yes.
Councilmember Vicki Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Andrew Gardner.
No.
Councilmember Dan Landrum.
Yes.
Mayor Charles Poss.
Yes. All right, that's the first reading of the budget. The horse will be there the second reading. We'll have more time to discuss this.
This will be a public hearing at that time.
Okay. The next ordinance is an ordinance to amend Title 13, Chapters 2 and 3 of the Town of Signal Mountain Municipal Code. This is the municipal landscape ordinance that we've talked a lot about. And there's also a section in here for lot clearance. I didn't know if there was a change to that. Is there any change to the lot clearance? Okay. All right.
Motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion to approve. All right, and a second. Any discussion? No. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, motion passes. The next is an ordinance amending section 18-107 of the town code to establish new water rates for the town of Signal Mountain Water Utility beginning September 1st, 2021. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second? I'll second. This has come up in a lot of emails about the fact that we're raising the water rates at the same time we're doing a tax increase. Dan and Susanna probably know more about that than the rest of us, because apparently this is this has been in the works for a while. This is the third of 3 increases that was implemented a long time ago. So I'll let either one of them address that if they want, just so everyone knows.
Sure. I'd like to address it just briefly and then ask for an update. We probably should have thought of maybe even have Adam talk about the state of the water company, but you can fill in for that if you don't mind, Boyd. But yeah, this was this was known, and this is all based on the recommendation to get our water company in. Can you guys hear me okay? I can take this off again. This was all part of an effort to get our water company in good fiscal shape so that we don't have to worry about it. Basically, it's to get it to where it should be. And had an MTAS study done, and MTAS suggested a certain rate. We knew that was too much to do at once. And so it was set up to happen over 2 or 3 years. It's important to remind people every time this gets talked about that for a lot of Signal Mountain customers, the amount of water they pay, in particular, older customers who live alone or two-family households, their water rates went down, not up. It billed more fairly based on the amount of water used and eliminated some fees and things. So it wasn't just a rate increase, it was a restructuring. So this is the third of those three. And the big question is, has it worked as we thought it would work? And so I guess that's what I'd pose to you, Boyd. How are we looking right now based on the projections on the first two, and why is it necessary for us to do the third?
I think it's worked as anticipated. Largely the driving force behind this was not only being fiscally stable, but also doing a better job of taking care of our system. And we went in this hoping that we may be able to, ratchet this one down a little bit once we got new meters in and saw some cost savings and started working on water loss and all of that. And we've done that, but during that period of time, we've also done a better job of identifying issues. When Adam's come in and really taken a hard look at the system, we didn't have a solid understanding of the kind of investment we're going to need to make in the pump station and those sorts of things. So it has so far done what we expected it to do. But in that same time, we've also identified additional costs because things that weren't on the radar in terms of improving and taking care of the system are now on the radar. So that's why I think we need to proceed with this planned, long-planned increase. But again, originally, hoped that wouldn't at least be as extensive as it is, but now knowing even more about the system and what we need to do, I think it's absolutely necessary. And ultimately, we get to that point that has been our target all along, is being fiscally stable, but also far more responsive and responsible in terms of taking care of our system.
How are we doing on the checklist that we had at the time of some of the, the major projects that this would help us address?
We have gotten engineering done on what would have been the next phase of that. That's in the works. Some of the lines in Hidden Brook. In that same period of time, we've had the mountain shift and issues to deal with down on Sunset. We've got the 127 project that's coming along, and we're told we have to move a water main as part of that. So those projects are still there, and on top of that, we're working on the more pressing issues that weren't even known, imagined a couple years ago.
While this discussion's up now, because I'll forget it later, we probably, now that we know, at least it looks like we know the initial fate of the Lions Orchid project, that put a pause on deciding what to do about our interconnect with WRUD. We probably need to get that back on the radar of council.
Sure, but do we know that that's not going to be appealed, that decision?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean,
But yeah, we don't.
they have
but-
30 days, so
Okay.
they'll appeal it.
Yeah.
We'll know
Get it
soon.
in the.
But yeah, thanks.
Get it in the hopper.
I guess, can we just put that like for, 60 days from now or 45 days
Yeah,
from
maybe
now? And we
October.
have a better idea of whether that's going to be appealed and talk about it then?
I think that's kind of part of our mountaintop growth plan. You know, once we convene that discussion too, that'll be a
Okay,
big topic.
all right. Um,
But I
uh,
agree. I think that the takeaway for me in this is, I mean, yes, there is a rate, it's the third of 3 rate increases. We've known it was coming. We've been talking about it for 2 years. But Dan referring to it as a modernizing or a restructuring of the department, that is spot on. We are changing the way that we run this citizen-owned and operated utility so that it is more efficient and going to do a better job, you know, just for the citizens of Signal Mountain, so that it's easier to understand, you know, the billing is more timely, all of those things. So, you know, I think and it'll be more fiscally sound.
Yeah, I mean, we need to take care of things as we go, not like put everything off until the end when things have to be replaced at 10 times the cost. So hopefully this will get that done. Any other discussion? Do we
Yeah.
have oh, sorry.
Yeah, I got a question for Boyd and also want to reiterate, because I've talked with many citizens concerned about it. But yeah, this is the third rate increase as part of the MTAS study to get us to where we need to be. That was a sustainable point, rate-wise, picked out by MTAS to get us where we're able to maintain our infrastructure properly and make the improvements that are needed, as well as just daily operations. So this is the water. A lot of people don't know, system has to be self-funding, so we can't take money from elsewhere. So we need to do this. It's part of what we should be doing with our general fund, which is a longer term plan to get to a sustainable point.
Yeah.
Which I'm glad we did it, and I think it's going to be a healthy thing. And so that leads to my question, which is, after discovering some of these other things, are we at a sustainable point with this increase?
I wouldn't anticipate needing to do anything else for some time. I think once we get a true handle on what some of our more significant long-term impact projects are, then we have some other options too. You brought up in meetings the opportunity to fund some projects and spread that over years. When you have a true infrastructure project, replacing a line might not fit the bill, but if we're going to overhaul how we get water up the mountain to all of our customers, that may be something we want to look at as a long-term investment funding scenario. So you can never say we're not going to have to do.
Yeah,
That will always
it should increase
create
at
a
a more
challenge, but
inflationary rate.
I think this gets us where we need to be, and we'll be in a position to look at those major projects from a different light, and the general upkeep, maintenance, improvement of the system itself. I think we're in a position to take care of that.
Do you feel like today we're spending less resources and time band-aiding and more proactively maintaining? Or
To the extent we are able,
yeah,
we're still responding to main breaks and
yeah,
all of that stuff, but the effort that's going into formulating a more efficient approach is considerable. And I think Adam and his crew's doing a great job of that, but much like Public Works and some of the others, that you can come in today and plan on doing one thing, and the water main break decides that's not what's going to happen. So I think we are somewhat responsive, but at the same time, there's a lot of effort going into being more proactive in our approach.
Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion? I think we have a motion and a second, right? Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion passes. Next is an ordinance to retain and readopt Title 14, Chapter 4, Design Principles and Standards of the Signal Mountain Town Code. We have a motion?
So moved. Sorry.
That was Dan made the motion, and
I'll take the second.
we talked about this before. I don't think there's any change to the design review commission or the design review code, right? It's just
Right.
readopting it.
There is still, and I'll defer to Harry if he wants to jump into, there's some debate as to whether this process is absolutely required. MTS legal consultant has confirmed that this was the intent, that everybody would have to do this. Ultimately, the language is a little ambiguous in that, so Harry and I discussed it and came down to where's the safe spot to land, and decided we're not changing anything. It doesn't lock us in. If we decide we want to change something in this down the road, we can do that by the same process we would have. It's simply this is the safe route to make sure we don't get left out in the cold if it's determined that this was in fact necessary. It's a little bit of an effort, but
Fair
we'll do
enough.
it and make sure we're in good shape.
Yep, fair enough.
Let me just add to what Boyd said. I talked to MTS and talked to a lot of people and looked at this. The intent was to require municipalities to readopt what they'd already adopted. The language as it came out, as Boyd said, didn't say that as clearly as it should have been said. There are some municipalities who are going to say it's not necessary. MTS says, well, the way it was written, it really isn't necessary, although I do know that was the intent. But we think that there isn't a downside to going ahead and doing it. Is it necessary? Maybe not. Does it hurt to do it? No, it doesn't. It's the safe thing to do. And I want to point out one thing, and I apologize for not seeing this earlier, but I would make one suggestion in the second whereas paragraph of the ordinance. Where it says, whereas recently enacted state law requires municipalities to readopt locally established codes, et cetera. I think that ought to say, whereas recently enacted state law provides that municipalities may adopt. Because readopt is not in the new statute. And it doesn't say, it's not a requirement, it says that they may. In other words, if some municipalities don't have design review standards, and that's okay, they don't have to pass anything. So with that suggestion.
May I amend my motion with that wording change?
I'll amend my second.
Did you get it, Carol? Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a amended motion and second. Thank you. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Nope. Okay, that motion passes. Next ordinance is an ordinance to retain and readopt Title 14. Maybe this needs to be changed too, but anyway, retain and readopt Title 14, Chapter 4, Sections 408 and 409 of the Signal Mountain Town Code. This goes along with the previous one, I suppose.
Yes, it does state that specific provisions that address building materials have to be basically called out and passed separate and apart from the general ordinance. So that's the nature of this one. And that second whereas will need to be changed as well.
Move to approve with the changes.
Okay, just so we're clear, it will now say, whereas, this is the second paragraph, whereas recently enacted state law provides that municipalities may adopt locally established codes pertaining to construction materials by way of a specified process.
Correct.
All right, any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. All right, that motion passes. All right, we have a discussion, or two discussion items. One is to schedule for check signing. So we talked about this a little bit last week about having people come in and sign checks, maybe taking a month at a time. Anyone have any other ideas for that? I think that's a good idea if we do that. So we could just assign months. Anyone want to? I mean,
Yeah.
we're almost at the end of August. We could start in September. I'll take the first one. I'll do September.
I'll do October.
I can do November. Okay, wait. Okay, who was October?
Susanna.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll finish out. I've already been doing August, so
Yeah.
I'll finish.
Oh,
out.
okay.
Yeah.
Dan, let's start with August then. Dan.
I'll do November. Okay, thank you.
December. Can I trade?
You can, I'll do December. Are you going out of town? I'm going out of
I
town
have
in
no
October.
idea.
So I'm going out of town. I can't do it October, but I can do it November or December. So.
All right. Are you guys trading? Is there any money involved
Yes.
here too? I mean,
There
I think-
should
We may need to amend the town charter about compensation if I'm going to pay Vicky. So
right.
I'm happy to do it.
So who's November?
I'll do November.
I'll do December.
Okay.
And I may request to switch with one of you at some point. I'm just not sure.
And we'll just continue on that pattern as we go along.
Yeah.
You know, that same rotating pattern.
If I may, beyond that, just address general scheduling and when you could come by. I think most people, it may be difficult between 8 and 4:30. Generally, those would be on Thursdays if we know in advance if it needs to be early. I'll generally review and sign, and then can try to make sure and have them available and can meet you here earlier, but it would be good if we could have fairly consistent standing, not only monthly schedule, but, you know, time when we can plan on doing it.
I'm an early person. I'd rather come early, but
I am too.
I mean,
How early are you? Is early?
How early would you need to come?
I can come as early as 6.
how
That's probably way
long
too
is
early.
the process? Like generally, how long are you going to spend?
Generally
trying to
less
check?
than,
The stacks
yeah,
are
the
this tall.
stacks somewhere from between this and that. Generally, it's 20 minutes,
Okay.
something like that. So as
I don't need to come at 6.
no, you don't need to come at 6. So why don't, who's doing September?
Me.
Between now and September, I'll get with you and we'll work that out.
Okay.
I just wanted to kind of throw that out there that
It's one check run a
we
week.
need to try to
Yeah.
plan on how to do that.
And I want to toss something out just because you guys haven't done it. There are going to be times when they need something done now and you won't be available and no one will be available. They can still sign checks. It doesn't absolutely require one of us to do it. It's just better if one of us does it. So Eric can sign, Boyd can sign, Carol can sign. I guess that's it within staff, and any of us can sign. But
Right.
sometimes he's gone to a conference and he's gone to a conference, and, you know, it's just Carol, so she's got to have somebody else.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean,
Yeah.
if
Yeah. The only
somebody
reason I
can't do
wanted
it,
to
that's,
bring that up is so that down the road, when those things happen, it doesn't look like somebody was trying to do something without involving council. Sometimes business just needs to be done and something needs to be signed now.
yeah,
Yeah.
understood. All right, we'll talk off
you.
the clock about that. Okay, then we have the administrative hearing officer contract. So I take it that you and Mr. Duke had a discussion.
Yes, we've exchanged emails, and basically I started, again, conferred with Harry on it. Started by just sending them our old one as a starting point. Said,
Yeah.
here it is. Really, this is very similar to that. The hourly rate is the same. The main thing that has been added is a little more detail in terms of how he would be compensated for expenses relating to required training. And he made some suggestions on that, and I countered with basically what it says, that we follow state guidelines, and that's how we would handle those things. So you would know, the administrative hearing officer training, the next available will be in Cookville, 10/28 of this year. It's a few hours, not a few days, so expense would be fairly minimal. Tuition's $350. So that, since it does include that, wanted to let you know what that looked like. Again, beyond that, it's very consistent with what we had in place before.
Okay. And Harry, you've taken a look at it just to make sure it's all good?
I have, yes.
Okay. So we don't need to vote on anything unless we need to vote to approve this?
Yeah, I mean, if there's a consensus that you're comfortable with this, then at not the next meeting for the budget, but the next regular meeting, we'll do a resolution to make the appointment.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions or comments about the contract?
Do we want to just move that on to just talking about scheduling in this case? Since they're so close to each other, do we want to try to make the next meeting and cancel the regularly scheduled? Or can we do that?
I don't follow you, sorry.
So we have the special budget meeting scheduled for Thursday, not this Thursday, but next.
Right.
Or Wednesday, sorry, Wednesday. And then the following Monday would be our next meeting, correct? Like, less than a week later.
Right.
Is that necessary to do that? Or could we move that item onto the agenda for the Wednesday meeting
Oh, yeah.
and cancel the Monday meeting? Is what
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, when we discussed that previously, it was determined that we would have an additional meeting.
Are we?
That's what
Yeah.
we've scheduled, and there may very well, we've been pretty well occupied with the budget and everything, so there may be other things pending that 100% y'all's choice.
Let's move this to the meeting on the 18th.
Okay.
And then can we cancel the 23rd meeting if there is nothing on the agenda? On the 18th? I mean,
Can we
if we get to
cancel it
the
on the
18th,
18th?
can we
Yeah.
say there's nothing on the agenda for the 23rd, so the meeting's canceled?
Yes, I would suggest you make that call now, so we know not to put things on that agenda.
Okay.
Is there something that's going to be earth-shattering that has to happen at that meeting? I don't know, but as we come out of budget, there's going to be plenty of things to address, so I'd rather kind of know early on to avoid that meeting and plan on getting things out of the gate for the following, if that's what you guys want to do.
I'd be shocked if we aren't creating a backlog by, all the focus that we're doing on the budget right now. And that just for the normal run of business, every 2 weeks seems to be pretty necessary, but could be wrong.
I
mean,
thought that's why we had scheduled the extra meeting anyway, because it was gonna be, it would give us space to be able to do other things on the Monday night. But, I mean, I'm happy to do either one.
I mean, this
but-
agenda is not going to take
Yeah.
very long
Yeah.
on Wednesday, is
Mhm.
why I'm thinking, unless you need additional time to prepare things. I know you don't really know right now. I would think we could knock it all out.
Yeah.
Is there
in
some,
a
yeah,
single, like, make this the one that we do the catch up on too.
right, I was going to say the same thing. If
Yeah.
there's things that you think might come up for the 23rd, maybe we can push them to the 18th and cancel the 23rd meeting. And then, anything that's more pressing, put on the 23rd. If there's something that's not pressing, it can move to the September meeting. That work for everybody?
Works for me.
All right, we might have a long meeting on September 13th, but I think that'll be okay if it gets to that. All right, so,
I'm sorry, just for my notes so that I could be clear. Y'all have all agreed that you are going to cancel that Monday meeting,
the 23rd.
the 23rd. Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Not that it matters. I think that makes me nervous, but just want to say that.
Well, I mean, Charlie's thought was to wait till the 18th and see if we have something urgent for the 23rd, which I kind of agree with, but like, maybe I'm not understanding correctly, but I think Boyd had said it's better process-wise for them if we just cancel now.
I have an idea. Why don't we agree to cancel it now on the 18th if nothing is needed for the 23rd? Can we do that? We can say we're going to
It's
cancel it
effectively
now.
canceling it, so
Yeah,
you don't
but it's
schedule anything.
still out there if we have to have it. We've already put out the notice for
But the
it.
plan is like, the 18th, we would like to handle things in addition. to-
Right. Plan to either handle on the 18th or September, but if there's something that we have to do on the 23rd, we'll still have that meeting and we could just cancel it on the 23rd, on the 18th.
Potentially, do we have any budget adjustments that we're going to need to do because of things coming in, because of the fact that we've already done a budget extension? Okay. I don't mean now, I mean on the final meeting. We won't be adjusting it, okay.
Right.
Is that a okay plan? That we're saying now that on the 18th, we will cancel that meeting officially, as long as nothing has to be put on there for the 23rd. Okay, so we're planning to not do anything there. All right. Good idea, Andrew, thank you. Then we'll talk, I guess we'll confirm this contract for Mr. Duke at our next meeting. Which brings us to the manager's report.
You guys will recall a while back, we did a resolution, not to another one that we weren't sure we had to do, but it was felt it was the appropriate and safe way to go on the right-of-way impacts for the 127 improvement project. Some very small areas that the state would need right-of-way on to do the drainage improvements and so forth. And we ultimately executed a letter stating that we concurred that there would be minimal impact. Since that time, they've changed the plans and actually reduced the amount of right-of-way that's required. I think they've eliminated some cross drains, reduced the footprint of some others, and one just slightly to the north, and that's it. So it's actually considerably less impact than it was to begin with. but because it's changed, they want us to basically confirm that we still feel that way. I don't feel it rose to the level of needing a whole nother resolution. If an area had grown or changed significantly, that might be one thing, but I wanted to just let you guys know, just an example, one of the spots was 0.09 acres, and now it's 0.01 acre. Another started out at 0.08 and is now 0.02. So I think they've basically, as they've moved into the design and really nailed down what they need to do, they've gone back and reduced these footprints considerably. So just wanted to make you aware of that and see if there was any objection to me sending them. They just need an email or something saying that we're good.
No objection here, anyone?
Nope.
All right.
Suggestion along those lines, I think it would probably be good for this council to have someone from TDOT come in, because we've got a lot of new people, and talk about what's still ahead in that process, because there's gonna be a lot of questions, and there's a lot left to do. There's gonna be disruption on that road. If nothing else, I recommend you guys go back, look on the Signal Watch website, and there was a meeting held at the high school where they kind of, I believe they did a pretty good job in that meeting, taking questions and laying out kind of the disruptions that are going to take place. It's not going to be fun.
That was a really informative meeting.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, if we can get the guy to come to a meeting, it'd be good.
it might be good, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can see what.
Maybe not
said
September
right now, there's
13th.
still, plans are still evolving a little bit, but at the point where those truly get nailed down, which we thought we were at that point a time or two before, but I think when they really have a good feel for what exactly is coming, that would be a good time to
Okay.
come in and lay it out for everybody.
All right.
Good idea.
In addition to that, just a couple of things on the training front. Dan actually mentioned conferences. The State City Managers Conference is September 1st through the 3rd. It's here in Chattanooga, so I may actually be in and out of the office a little bit, but I'll be attending that. Also wanted to mention the TML conference is September 18th through the 21st, also here in Chattanooga. You guys may have gotten something on it. If not, I can forward it to you. As a part of that, they're doing a level 2 elected officials academy, which will be from 1 o'clock to 7:45 on the 17th.
Can you say that 1 o'clock?
Yeah, so it's the afternoon/evening of the 17th, and then the morning of the 18th, from 8 to 12:30. If any of you are interested in doing that, just let me know, and we'll take care of the registration and everything.
Okay.
That's all I have.
All right. That's in September. All right, so thank you, Boyd. Other business, communications and reports from the mayor and council, and reports from committees or boards, we can combine those.
Makes sense.
Yeah. I know that the planning commission I'll just mention, the planning commission met recently. We talked about amending the subdivision regulations to provide that a minor subdivision would now be have to be an acre. You'd have to have an acre for each lot. That was put together by Garrett, and some things came out of that we thought we needed to talk about. So we're now going to have a work session to talk about that. It'll be either August 28th or September 9th.
If I may, that part of the discussion was relative to the zoning ordinance as opposed to subdivision regs.
Okay.
So it would ultimately come.
Okay. Also, John Foreman came to the planning commission to talk about his rooftop over his patio and how it had been denied, or he'd been told to take it down, and the BZA upheld that opinion. He's trying to figure out a way where we can create an exception to allow those types of things. So he's just going to get with Garrett, and they're going to talk about what ordinances are out there about that, and then we'll have a more discussion later. So that's pretty much what the meeting was. Anyone else?
Personnel committee was scheduled, but we couldn't gather a quorum.
Okay.
Didn't meet.
Right. I also wanted to address something ahead of time. I don't want to put you on the spot. Dan, you mentioned that you might be leaving town or leaving the council. I thought if that's the case, if it's still happening.
Yeah, I'm flying with Elon Musk into outer space.
No,
I have to sell
I'm not
my
trying to
house to do it,
suggest
though.
that you do that. I'm just saying if you do, we probably at some point should talk about the process to replace you.
Good idea.
And so I wanted to have as much advance time to not only talk about the process, but to give people the opportunity to think about whether they'd like to put their name in the hat. So I didn't want to put you on the spot, but maybe,
No, it doesn't. I've been upfront about that from the beginning, but I don't know what that schedule is just yet.
Okay,
So I don't, but I think discussing it now is a great idea.
all right.
The options are, I mean, we can even have a referendum. I mean, not a referendum. It could be an election. There's time it could be an election. And I think I asked at one time for Boyd to check. Have you gotten that back yet?
Well, I did. I talked to the election commission and asked them what it would cost to do a special election for. Thank you. Talked to the election commission, asked them what the cost would be for a special election for a municipality, and their answer was, I don't know. We've literally never done that.
Okay.
So I think it's something that would take some time to nail that down.
I went back.
explained that I'm clear that it's not necessary, but in terms of it being an option, they were clear that no one has ever exercised that option,
Right.
so they would really have to figure that out.
I went back and watched the 2 meetings in July, I think they were both in July of 2019. That's the last time I think somebody was replaced. That's when Bob Spalding stepped down and Cheryl Graham took her spot, or took his spot. Somebody mentioned at that meeting that it would cost $18,000 to $22,000 to have a special election.
I don't know
which-
where we got that number if they don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not in our ordinance. Our ordinance says if
Right.
somebody resigns, then the town council shall replace them.
Doesn't
then if
say
they
how to do
don't-
it. Yeah.
But if they don't do it within 30 days, then it can go to the election commission. So you were putting forth the proposal at that time to have ballots where you rank voting, which I thought that's the way I would do it. But anyway, that depends on how many candidates you have and that kind of thing. I just think that if you're actually going to resign at some point, then people need to start thinking about whether they want to put their name in and join the council. And then once you decide that, we can finalize a plan on how to go about choosing somebody. So
Well,
that's all I want to
there's
do
no
is bring
doubt
it
that
out.
I'm leaving. I
Okay.
just do not know what the schedule is.
Okay. I'm not trying to
And-
push you out by any means.
Yeah.
I just wanted to,
And
get
there's
the
always,
word out.
there's always the possibility that as things progress with this job, that something falls through at the last minute. So
Yeah.
uh,
Okay.
I think this is the best place in the country to live. And the place that I'm going to be moving to, if this does pan out like it should be, only has the disadvantage of fires, earthquakes, hurricanes, scorpions, drought. Other than that, it's just like here. And really high taxes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
Sounds like a great opportunity.
Mhm.
All right. Well, anyway, so we can talk about that more if this actually becomes a reality.
How does that usually
It's been
go.
different, it's been
you know?
different
I
every
don't-
time.
It's not specified in the charter.
I think it would be awesome if we cleaned up some of those things in our ordinances. So we have a method of selecting who the mayor is. We have a method, prescribed method of doing a lot of these things.
Well, you know, what's interesting is Harry said at that meeting in July of 19, he said when there was going to be a motion, he said, do you want to make this a permanent thing to implement or just for this particular time? And I guess it was chosen to just do it that time. You mentioned the cost of $18,000 to $22,000.
Yes, I'm saying, I don't remember where we got that.
Yeah.
I thought it was from the election commission or maybe from the state. You know, I remember having a
Yeah.
conversation, but they wouldn't know what our local cost would be.
Yeah. Anyway, I guess that's not money well spent if we can do it
No.
ourselves. I had one other thing. Does anybody else have anything? I don't want to hog the conversation here. Okay. One other thing is that Boyd had sent us an email a while back that the Mountain Arts Community Center board resigned en masse, right? And did that actually happen? Okay. We still have a board. Now we have no one on it. So I think we need to fill it. So I would suggest that we send out, information to get applications so we can fill that board. I don't know how big the board is, but does anybody have any opposition to that?
Well, I mean, I think their last request, that sounds like really morbid, communication, right, decision that they made, they had requested to dissolve the board. So I think that's also something we should consider, is dissolving the board and not worrying about filling positions.
And
So
the-
maybe we should discuss that next meeting or
Yeah,
now. I'm
And to be clear, my wife also resigned from the SMEPF, so we're not involved with it in any way
Okay.
now. Those who resigned in mass joined the SMEPF board so that they can actually be on a working board. So
That's fine.
So the citizen representation is it's greater than it was. It's not less than it was. I think if you don't dissolve the board, what's the purpose of keeping the board? What would that board do?
Well, it would do what Chapter 10, I guess, says it would do, which would be its duties and functions shall include but not be limited to providing and recommending policies, general improvements, programs, and other functions that will benefit the advancement and success of the MAC as an active, viable arts and cultural center for the Signal Mountain community. Just because we have somebody running it doesn't mean that we shouldn't have a board overseeing it. We do have a rec board, but we have leagues that, some, make money and some don't. We have a library board but we have a library that's pretty self-sufficient. I mean, so we're funding them. So I think we still have a stake in this. And I think that we need to keep.
Somewhat misleading to say you're funding them, but I know you don't intend it to be that way, but I think it is misleading when we say that,
We're providing operating expenses.
just like we do for, no.
That's fine.
no.
It doesn't matter what it's
It does-
for or
it
how
does
it's
matter
characterized.
If it's misleading, we're providing a building and keeping that building going. Just like we provide baseball fields and keep that going.
which is funding for baseball,
Which is what?
funding for baseball.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't think that's misleading to say that.
All right.
So I
I'm
just,
not, I don't,
I think
Yeah.
if we are involved as a town in providing funding for the MAC, then we need to continue to oversee to make sure that it's doing what the town wants it to
If it's a
do.
town asset, and it's, so that we sort of, if we define ourselves as a community that has a cultural center, I mean, if that's a pillar that we stand on, and we have language in the charter that says, that sort of provides the link, then maybe it's something that needs to be examined instead of just, I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying, one way or the other, but I'm not positive it should just be dissolved because, I mean, I don't know.
Well, at this point, we have a board that has no members, so we need to fill it. If somebody wants to dissolve it, then somebody can make a motion to dissolve it, and we can talk about that. But right now, we need to fill our board. So, if somebody wants to dissolve it, have at it. We can talk about it at the next meeting if you want lots of time to think about it. But I think we need to fill it if we have it.
I agree, but I mean, I will say, I think the MAC board is the wrong direction, best practice-wise, for Community Arts Center. Again, it's the successful models you see out there, kind of public-private partnership, or you give the organization freedom and decrease oversight, not increase it. But also comes with financial freedom and responsibility,
Right.
typically. So
Right.
that's
I mean,
the direction I'd like to work towards.
I would agree.
The MAC board I see as maybe it's still necessary now, but it's kind of redundant a little bit. And I think that was the feeling. I talked to a couple MAC board members. That was kind of the feeling they had.
They do, because, I mean, the SMEPF board, even though their mission is technically preservation, they've sort of morphed into programming. And so if they're providing that service of, organizing all of the programming with the help of their board and their volunteers, then the MAC board wouldn't serve a productive role per se in what they do.
But we also didn't, in my opinion, we didn't really meaningfully move towards that model, right?
Right.
So we have the old model. Yeah, maybe we should be filling the positions. I don't know.
Okay,
I got to think about it.
Yeah, let's food for thought. So we have a board, it needs to be filled. If somebody wants to dissolve it, they can make a motion and we can talk
Because
about
we'd have
that.
to change the ordinance.
Yeah, it would have to be done by an
it's-
ordinance.
It was established by ordinance. So in order to dissolve it, we would have to
Yeah, it's good.
change it and create, do it officially.
Right.
And that, to me, that has been ambiguous since we had this big discussion. And we worked out the terms of the lease agreement, but that is still sort of, I don't know.
It isn't moving based on the end result. It isn't moving in a direction where the responsibility of the preservation fund increases with the town contribution decreasing. That is not happening. So,
Well, that's something that's decided every year in the budget. That's something the council decides every time. And it was decreased this year. The amount of money that the town gives to the MAC went down. And the SMEPF has hired someone, with their own money who's helping out to man some of the stuff since then.
yeah.
So it is happening de facto. But, again, I'm still too close to it, I guess. It seems like it doesn't make any sense to me, as hard as it is to get people to serve on boards.
But you're in favor of dissolving the board.
Well, I'll just stay quiet on that.
Well,
I think you guys
I'm-
need to
I'm-
decide
I'm-
that
I'm-
without my input.
All right. Well, we have a board. So if we're going to keep it, we need to fill it. If we're going to dissolve it, somebody needs to make that motion. I'm not. I think we should fill it. That's my position. But if somebody else feels differently, then
What about
make a proposal.
posting them and seeing what kind of response we get as we think through this, I guess.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
'Cause it might
That's-
not be
yeah.
much.
We could do that, yeah. I mean, I think that the preservation fund, I mean, if there's a MAC board, then the preservation fund obviously is going to have to work with the MAC board to make sure that the programming that they're doing is consistent with what the MAC board is recommending. I mean, so, yeah, let's post the openings and see what we get.
You potentially create a situation where you make it hard for a nonprofit group to be successful again, by adding another layer of complexity and politicization of what it means for private, public partnerships to work out. Just think about it. I mean, you want them to be successful because it saves this town money and it creates programs.
Yeah,
Does-
I
would
made that
this-
clear at
would
our
this
last
make
meeting
it-
when we talked about that. I
saying-
want
I'm
them to
saying
be
I agree with
successful.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does this lead to that success?
I don't think this hinders that success at all. I mean, if the MAC board meets once a month, once every couple months, once every 3 months to go over things with the preservation fund, I don't think that hinders them at all.
Redirect the things they've been working on, tell them the things that they've spent money and time on, well, maybe you should change directions on this. What kind of practical information do you see coming out that they aren't already getting by having such a big public board with so many people involved in it?
Well, it's not a public board, it's a
It's-
private
well,
organization.
Some of their meetings, they're
so-
actually doing,
I mean,
they're
it's a-
doing a combination of that. When they talk about personnel things, they go public, but I know there's at least one person in this room who's not a member of the MAC board, who was invited to come to the meeting last time. They announce when they are. So, is it a problem that needs solving, or would we be doing this just because the board exists, as opposed to going with the recommendation of the board, which was to dissolve it, and then if a problem arises, fix it. I mean, that's kind of what this board does. This board is the supervisory body of that.
Yeah.
In the past, did the MAC board get that involved with projects and spending?
The past is a long, long time.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's
Yes, it
true, that's
depends.
true.
It
I mean,
depends
I
on-
would say
I
in
mean,
the
the
recent 5
preservation
years,
fund
yeah.
ran it for a year before
They were involved longer than that.
everybody, well,
Yeah,
not as in
Right,
operations.
that's true.
But they were they were doing the operations for a year with a MAC board. Nobody complained, to my knowledge, that there was a, duplicity of roles, or that they couldn't get anything done because the MAC board was hindering them or anything like that. So again, I'm
Is
just saying
the-
we have a board that needs to be filled because there's no one on it. If somebody wants to,
Is the
move to devolve it, have at it.
board, well, I mean, you're not on the board, so I'm not
No,
asking you,
and Angie's
Dan.
not president. You
And I'm
should-
not
you should
asking,
invite-
I'm
yeah,
asking a question.
Yeah.
Are they going to, I know that Mr. Graham explained to us everything they've done, which was this hugely impressive list. And I know that they have all these, I mean, their programming is phenomenal. But are they, I guess my question in general, and I don't know, are they going to be doing some strategic planning, because their mission statement is all about preservation? Their
Well, but
name
but
is
you're
about
the- You're
preservation.
the liaison. You know how much they've talked about how.
I'm
that
the
needs
liaison
be
to
a-
MAC. I'm not the liaison to SMEPF. I've never been to an SMEPF board.
Okay.
My question is, are they more clearly defining their changing role? And if that's the case, then, if they're going to be giving more clarity to that, then it may give more clarity to us as to whether or not we need a MAC advisory board.
Do we need a Signal Mountain Golf and Country Club Advisory Board? We
I
lease
don't
that
understand
prop-
what you're,
We lease that property to them with an agreement, with an MOA.
I don't know the details of that.
well,
Well,
that's
but
been,
we don't-
They
Dan,
don't-
I mean.
Well, there are details.
But
The
we don't
details-
have a
That's been,
board.
that's been an agreement that's been in existence for a really long time.
Right.
And so I think you're comparing
no,
oranges
I'm
to
gonna give you-
apples
I'm gonna give
here.
you a
I think
reason why it's
we still are stakeholders in a pretty significant way with the MAC. So I'm just asking a question.
Yeah, I know, and
Yeah, I think we can shut down anything about the golf course. It's a private organization. Their mission is not to enhance the community. They're not
but there
providing
is
services to the
also
community.
They have the option of having a liaison to us through the lease. That's what I was trying to get to. It might make sense to have a liaison from the SMEPF board that reports to the council.
Maybe so.
I said that at the meeting. I kept saying it over and over.
Yeah,
They
And
rejected.
they
why I'm-
resisted
They
over and
rejected
over.
that. They rejected that.
They
So,
rejected it over and over. And I mean,
I
that's
think
what we
I talked
need.
to-
That
I talked
fixes
to
it.
the person that yelled about that. afterwards, and I think that was a misunderstanding. I do think that was a misunderstanding. Because I was surprised that that person had that reaction, and they felt they were reacting to something said earlier, not the late. I know, because I thought,
Wait, so they didn't understand what I was saying?
I
Well,
don't know.
misunderstandings
I think it was a
happen.
misunderstanding. So I think if that's,
Well, then if we can clear that up, I think that for me would kind of like, that unmuddies the water a little bit.
then maybe we should, yeah, I mean.
All right. Well, let's put the word out to fill the board.
Maybe I'm misunderstanding the
Meantime,
conversation I
I
had
know.
afterwards.
if somebody wants to, I mean, this
Well,
is
it's
not
just-
something we're voting on now, so if somebody
No.
wants to move to change the way this all works, that's fine, or
I
dissolve the
think it's
board,
just
whatever.
unfinished business, kind of.
Sure,
that.
sure. Anyway, that's it. Anybody else have any communications and reports or other business? All right, we've got our tentative agenda for the 18th, very tentative for the 23rd, hopefully to be canceled, and we are adjourned.